Hello, quilters. Welcome back. It is time for clue 3 of Here Be Dragons. I am so glad you're here quilting along. So, back to clue 2. For clue 2, while I was going live with it, a few people posted that there was an error and I couldn't see it when we were live. I had put in the cutting instructions to use fabrics 1 and 4. I had put in the materials section in clue 2 to use fabrics 1 and 4. But in the first step, I said use fabrics 2 and 4. So I have corrected that. You can go back into class and download a copy that says corrected. So let me share that with you. I think this is it here. So yes, here is clue 2. And if you look at the bottom, I now say from fabric 1 and fabric 4. And at the bottom, you'll know you have the right one. And when it says Here Be Dragons, clue 2 corrected. So you can download a fresh copy of it. Thank you for catching that. Celeste and Adrian and others who are mentioning it to me. Thank you so much. But I've taken care of that and it's in class. Like I said, it's hard for me when I read it because I know what it means. It looks right to me. So, did you finish your half square triangles? I didn't. I only made that many. But that's going to be my fun project while I'm not cooking dinner, is I get to piece the whole quilt together. And I think I decided this quilt with the cheddar that I'm going to put a border on it because I have 3 of these, but I have a very tall family that's related to us that I want to take a bag of quilts to when I go back to my hometown in a few weeks. And I need one more tall quilt. They have 4 kids. One of them's still only about 6 years old, but the others are grown and really tall. So if I'm taking a quilt for every member of the family, I have every reason to believe even the little one is going to be tall. So I'm going to put borders on this quilt and make it bigger. But this is step 2. Now, clue 3 is out. Heather, you finished your half square triangles. Still to finish the cutting. See, that's as I was making it, I sew pretty fast, and I was not necessarily comfortable finishing it in an hour. I had to sew at full speed for that hour without stopping and videoing. So that's why I added the extra step on to cut ahead of time. This step is going to be easier, so you'll have more time for catching up with anything. A fun project while not cooking dinner. Yes, I made a big tray of enchiladas yesterday. So when we're done at 4, I can just slide that in the oven and all I have to do is sit and sew and it'll be wonderful. Carol, you've got the cutting and sewing done and you're still trimming. Excellent. You have time. This step's pretty easy. It should be pretty quick for you. Not much cutting, not much sewing. So I put it in here as a little breather for you. So this step is to take, let me go over to my plate here, fabrics from fabric 2 and 5. And someone was asking and said their fabrics 2 and 5 were of similar color and value. What we're going to do is make 4 patches out of these. Now, your 4 patches could just read solids, and that'll be a different, could read as one solid block if they're pretty close. But I like to have something darker because that's just my preference for this block. So we're taking these strips. We're going to sew them together into a strip. We're going to cut them apart, and we're going to sew them back together into 4 patches. Now, whenever I do mine, I typically press my seam to the side because I am lazy. If you want to, you can spin your seams in the middle, which just means picking up in the last few stitches and flipping one of these sides over. Let me see this one here. So this, when I sewed it to the side here, I can just flip the top one over. I'm getting it. I have to do everything backwards without looking. There we go. And then I can press it that way, and I don't have all my seams. It takes some of the fullness out of the center. So your choice, but I really just pressed all mine this way. I did this one for you, where it has that neat little 4 patch in the middle. So that's a pretty easy clue. Let's see. Terry asked, what thread do I use to piece with? Yes. Thread I piece with, I usually piece with Deco Bob in the bobbin, which is an 80 weight polyester. And for the top, I will use Aurifil 50 weight. I will use Superior Pima 50 weight cotton, or I will use Superior 50 weight So Fine. So that's what I sew with. I sew with whatever I have, but I think whenever I finish up all the threads in my drawer, which I work on, some of you might have caught my post I put on social media last week or earlier this week of all the cones I emptied last year and all the pre-wound bobbins. I do actually keep a bag, and every time I empty one, I throw it in a basket. I have a whole drawer of random thread. I'm going to replace it all with Superior Pima cotton as my piecing thread once I'm done using up all the thread that's there. So what thread do you piece with? Let's see. You catch up time. I'll get another cup of tea. Yes, definitely time for another cup of tea. I'm still on my Crystal Light, but there may be some tea coming in my future. Let's see. Half done with sewing from Carrie. Awesome. Again, if you don't finish by 4 o'clock, you don't turn into a pumpkin. You get to keep working on this. I sew very quickly, and I was able to complete this quilt in a couple hours, but you should be able to finish it today. And if you don't need to finish it today, there's no reason that you can't let it hang on to tomorrow or another day. Amy, you switched up your fabrics and all as well? Excellent. I'm glad. But it could also look cool as just a little depth of color instead of the stark contrast. So let's see. When you start at the top of the hour, please state which clue session you're starting. I have to log out and back in for some reason, and I can't easily tell where I landed. I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. I will. So this is clue 3. You lost the last square, found it. How does that happen? I actually have a picture. One time I taped a block to the back of my hand because I think I lost it 4 times. And I'm like, no more. Because I just taped it there until I needed it because I kept losing it. How does this keep happening in our sewing rooms? It's amazing what happens. So this is your break in the middle. This is clue 3. We're taking our strips from 2 and 5. We are sewing them into 4 patches. Let's see. What are the little purple crowns next to our names when we comment? I don't know. That's a YouTube thing. I don't know what that means. Let's see. Piece with Coats and Clark quilting cotton. I know it's thicker, but you like how sturdy it is. Your machine loves it and hates Aurifil. Do what you love. Just do it. I think that's important to just do what you love. I do like the thinner threads for piecing, which is why I cut the bulk by using a thinner bobbin thread. And since I'm a machine quilter, I have the thinner bobbin threads. But I think in a perfect world, I would just have the same thread, top and bobbin. I would just keep winding the cottons. But I do piece with polyester whenever I sew clothing because I've got grandkids and they're a little rough on clothes. But for piecing quilts, I'm kind of use whatever I got. Debt 3 quilter, yes, it's a YouTube thing. Yeah, I'm not that knowledgeable about YouTube. I used to only do Facebook Live, and I moved over to YouTube as well because some people don't do Facebook, which is cool. But I'm not super knowledgeable on YouTube. So thank you for that. So let's see. It shows interactions to YouTube for analytics. I'm honored you think I know what that means. No, I do social media, so I kind of know what that means, but I don't. I'm just happy you're here no matter what it says next to your name. So hopefully you have a fun quilting session this time. A little easy session, making your 4 patches. Take a break, get some beverage, get another cup of tea, little pick-me-up in the afternoon or morning if you're in Australia like Heather. And I will see you back at the top of the hour where we will do clue 4. Happy quilting!